Welcome back to it, your feel-good breakfast show. It is Expresso. We're live here on S3. It's all about trending topics in the world of digital and social media today. And we've got our trusted legal eagle. It's Eitan Stern in the house. First of all, before we go anywhere with it, Eitan, Happy New Year. So good to see you.
Happy New Year. Great to be back here.
But also, I've got to say, congratulations, because Eitan Stern went and got married in December. Yes! Congratulations.
Lucky me.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
I see you keep looking at my hand.
I am looking at your hand the whole time.
I kept losing it, so I put it down.
Yeah, well, listen, in the absence of a ring on your finger, your skin, your face, so radiant.
Glowing.
I mean, you're glowing. I mean, congratulations. But let's get back to business. We know that, a trip down any one of your timelines on social media will definitely include a partnered ad where you see sponsored or partnership with between an influencer and a brand. Now, we know that over the last couple of years, influencer marketing, it's become one of the most popular ways, the most cost-effective ways as well for brands and PR agencies to engage with consumers, which means that all of the parties involved, including the influencer, need to understand contracts and agreements and have them in place. It's very, very important. And it's time for us to get into another exciting edition of our feature here. So Now What? Where we focus on the conventional side, or the unconventional side of the law. And our friend and expert in law, director at legalese.co today, it's Eitan Stern. He's here to answer the question. I want to sign an influencer marketing contract with a brand. So now what? And Eitan, that's the thing. It's like anyone going on social media now, you're either an influencer or someone who's exposed to influencers. We've got to understand that it's it's an actual business and there are contracts, right?
Yeah, 100%. So as you said, it's like a growing way for people to market. And I think one of the interesting things about it is, as social media has gone into everyone's lives, suddenly like any person with a following that makes interesting content, that is an interesting person, can suddenly start to earn revenue from their following on social media. So I think it's a really interesting thing because all it can do is kind of let young people or different people earn money through social media. But certainly, if you're going to be doing it, it's important, if you're taking money from any brand or any company to promote their product and you're in any sort of working relationship, it shouldn't be a vague thing. You're going to want a contract in place to govern what you're supposed to do, how many posts, what you can say, what you can't say.
Yes.
And that can work at a small level if you're working with a small brand, or if you're working with a major brand, then the terms get very specific.
And that's the one thing you mentioned that's really cool is the fact that anyone can become an influencer. I mean, we're seeing so many of these dance challenges taking place on social media now. One day you're posting yourself doing a little dance, and tomorrow you've gained so much traction and brands are trying to get to you. Is there a difference between an influencer contract or any other sort of traditional marketing contract?
Yeah, so I think the takeaway point there is that the contract is always going to differ depending on what you're doing for someone, right? So if anyone out there is doing any sort of work in a marketing field for a brand or for a company, whether it's influencer marketing or social media marketing, whatever you're doing, it's important to spell out in the contract what your roles and responsibilities are, what the client's roles and responsibilities are, how much you're going to get paid, when it ends, etc. So the difference between the two is really going to differ on like the obligations. But certainly the takeaway point is, whatever you're agreeing to do for a brand, make sure it's down in a contract.
And why is this so important?
Because contracts mean certainty, right? I might have said, listen, I'm going to promote Tabiso's your new company, selling shirts.
Hairspray, shirts, whatever. Yeah.
So, and so in your expectation of what you're expecting from me and mine might be different. So I think I'm going to do one post where I'm wearing your shirt, and you're expecting that I'm going to really be pushing it hard in a whole lot of different posts. So, contracts just mean legal certainty, and that's why they're so important. And these don't have to be long, complex agreements. They can just be a one-pager which says, I'm going to do this, you're going to pay me that, this is the term, this is what we do if we want to split ways.
And I suppose in a partnership where an individual is partnering with a brand, you want to make sure as the brand that you protect yourself, that the person is not going to say stuff that gets the brand in trouble, and for the influencer that the brand's not going to take the content and just like run with it all over the world unless Yes, that's what it says on the contract. Okay, a very interesting world. This, the world of influencer marketing and contracts that have got to do with that. Eitan Stern is here to really just get us into that zone, understanding what it takes to enter a professional contract in the world of influencer marketing. We'll have part 2 of our conversation, but do weigh in. Expresso Morning Show, SABC3 with that hashtag Expresso Show.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to it. Yes, it is your feel-good breakfast show. Hopefully you're feeling good this beautiful Thursday morning. We're live on S3. Thank you very much for joining us. And we're chatting influencer marketing and all the legalities around that. Continuing our discussion with husband and lawyer, as well as director at legalese.co.za, Eitan Stern, as he breaks down the legal ins and outs of the legalities, once again, involved in the space of work. And of course, the contracts that influencers get to sign with brands. And this is a really interesting conversation, Eitan, because there are a lot of businesses popping up. A lot of people are finding that their side hustles are picking up, and in order to get the word out there, and get people really buying into their businesses, employing those cost-effective marketing, platforms and angles such as influencer marketing becomes important. So this conversation is really both sides, right?
Yeah, 100%.
When it comes to influencer contracts, the content lives on the influencer's Instagram page. I've always been fascinated and quite curious to find out who owns that content. When we see a post by an influencer, does the brand own the content or does the influencer own the content?
Okay, so for a large part, it's going to depend what it says in the contract. As we keep saying, the contract's always going to be important. But for the way that also works is, if you create any content, you own the content. So you own the copyright in it. So if you take a photo, you own the copyright in that photo. But a brand may differ that by saying, look, anything that you create for us, we own. So it can kind of work in both ways. Okay. But one of the things that it's really important for brands and influencers or anyone doing this work to agree on is, once the campaign has ended, so once I've finished promoting your shirt, what happened? Can I take the content down? Does it have to stay there? If a brand has used an influencer's face in their campaign, once the term of that contract ends, do they have to remove those ads? So a lot of this, it's going to be a gray area, and with copyright, it's always a gray area. So again, I'm going to keep hammering it home. It's just crucial to talk about these things before the campaign starts and get an agreement between you and the brand, because this is often where the disputes arise.
That's precisely it, because now the campaign can't run. Now you've sold my shirts, but I'm now keeping all of the footage and all of the stuff that you've done and using it 8 months down the line when the contract's done. If we don't agree on that up front, I can't come back and say, no, but
It's just to manage expectations for both sides,
Now, we've seen often on Instagram posts or Facebook posts or any other social media platforms where it says sponsored post. Is this a requirement legally that the influencer has got to disclose that sort of information and use hashtags like that?
Yeah, so it's a fascinating one. I actually didn't know the answer to this. I went and looked into it. So in 2019, the South African Advertising Authority, they made it a rule in South Africa. So if you are accepting money or gifts or anything to promote posts, you are supposed to say so according to South African law. According to the social media sites, they put it as best practice. Okay. So, Facebook or Instagram are not forcing you to do it, but they do have an article there on best practice that said you should put sponsored posts. But in South Africa, it is the law that you do have to do it.
So there's got to be that hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored, hashtag paid.
Or using that sponsored poster feature.
Now it starts to make sense while we're always seeing those. Is it necessary for a brand engaging an influencer then to approach a lawyer to draft the contract, or for the influencer getting to engage with the brand, if the brand isn't coming through and saying, here's the contract, for an influencer to approach a lawyer and come through with a contract?
Yeah, so my view, it's going to be a general view on when it's worthwhile approaching a lawyer. So, what lawyers, it's not like we have magic powers, but we're just good at making things very specific and correct.
Come on, you do have magic powers. Come on, Eitan. Come on.
So, if you're doing it professionally and this is your income that you're earning, if this is your livelihood, your living, or if you're a company and you're spending a considerable amount of money on it, then sure, go to a lawyer to get a contract drawn up to make sure it's correct. If the money that you're earning or that you're spending does not warrant spending the money on a lawyer, then, do it yourself or download a contract on the internet it's not rocket science. You just need to make sure the terms, the roles and responsibilities, the ownership of IP, payment, term, all those things are down. But if it's worth money to you and it's core to your business, then certainly approach a lawyer. It's certainly something we could do at legalese, but if it's important to you, make sure it's done correctly.
Thank you. Eitan, you've been very helpful this morning. As always, I think that you were right to say that influence marketing has opened up new business opportunities and new opportunities for people to make additional income or to really just step into that zone and really be economically involved. But it's very important to make sure that we all are protected at every step of the way. Go into legalese.co.za, of course, if you want to connect with Eitan, but make sure that whatever you choose to do, whether you live in the business owner side of the world or as an influencer, that you are always protected the right way.